Good evening. Patrick here. 8 Questions with. We are back for our nightcap. That's right. Had an awesome show with Sabrina Culver. She was back, and we had a great visit with her. And now we're back interviewing musician Kami Rayne from the band Dante's Hellhounds. Dante HH, and he will be here shortly. And glad you guys are here for along for the ride. Um, wow, fun show. Wow, it is really hot in Europe, though. I'll tell you that. That's the third interview I've had over in Europe in the last week, and yeah, it's really bad summer over there. So keep everybody in your thoughts. Um, I guess I should mention one thing this week, and that was actor Julian Sands was found. His body, the remains of his body, was found Mount Baldy. Um, Glad that he was found, and his family could have closure. It's it's really weird because I've hiked that mountain. I've hiked that mountain before. I'm no expert by any means, um, but I don't know what it is. I know Mount Baldy can be really treacherous. I saw an accident up there that wasn't very pretty, so I know that. It's a treacherous mountain. It's actually treacherous just getting driving up it. Um, but it's still hard to fathom that he went far enough into the wilderness there to actually got hurt. To actually, I wonder if I was wondering if he took a cell phone or what have you. But they did find him, and he got returned home. So I'm really glad. Hey, Stephen, how are you? Hi, Anthony, how are you? Uh-oh, Anthony's losing subs now. Wait a minute, you're not supposed to be losing subs. You're supposed to be gaining subs. Yeah, this could be a fun show tonight, Stephen, I'm sure. And I think we're going to go ahead and talk to Kim in August. I'm thinking we should talk to Kim in August. I definitely want to do that. I'm sure as she is sitting with Cami, I will mention that to her, and we'll make that happen tonight. Um, so so I don't know if it's I guess it would be good news that his family got closure, and not wondering, because that's the worst thing, right? You wonder, like, did what happened to him? Did he just disappear off the planet? Well, luckily they found him, and they were able to return to his family. Hi, Snow. How are you? Welcome in. Welcome in. We're going to be talking to musician Kami Rayne in about 15 minutes or so. So glad you were here along for the ride. I will also go ahead and let you know what's coming up on the calendar, because that's what we do here. We talk calendar. Yeah, so we only have one more show after this in June. Tomorrow night we'll be talking with Alex Peters. He'll be here, our guest tomorrow night. He's a young actor, just getting, just cutting his teeth, so to speak. And he's got some credits behind us, some fun credits. So we'll definitely get Alex up here and talk with him. It should be a lot of yes, it was Snow. It was a very long month. Um, and I'm glad to say that July is here, and I will be cutting back the shows back down to 3 times a week, except for the second week. But I'm working hard to make sure that every show is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. A couple of them I couldn't help. A couple of them I couldn't help due to the schedule, so I would have had and scheduled them when I could. But starting next week, next Monday, we will not be here on Tuesday for 4th of July. I'm not going to be fighting 4th of July. But July 3rd, Monday, we'll be talking to actor Tyler Gallant. He will be here at 8 o'clock, and he is a fine young actor on the way up. He's got some really cool credits too. He was one of the stars of a movie I covered a lot this summer. That was Space Wars: The Quest for the Deep Star, and Tyler will be there. Will be our guest, and he was one of the co-stars of that film. And to me, he really was a highlight, definitely a highlight. Um, if you watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. He's ferocious. Um, that's right. Steven is a country singer, which is pretty cool, Steven, because Dante HH is a bit of a psychobilly roots rock, uh, a roots rock Americana band with some rock in it. So there is a little bit of country in them. They do have a little bit of country and rockabilly and roots Americana. Not the traditional country, but like I said, more like rockabilly stuff like Reverend Horton Heat, the Paladins, the Bone Shavers, Los Lobos, that type of thing. But it's a little bit more harder edge to it. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun talking to him. They have a stand-up bass player. Hey, Sue, welcome in, welcome in. Happy Pride, happy Pride. Uh, all year, all month is Pride Month, as far as we can see here at Egg Questions with Have Cheetah Will View. Yeah, so just because June goes away doesn't mean it's the end of Pride Month. We still are here supporting anybody in there that is living their life. We support that. Okay. And then on the 5th of July, we have actor Simon Shee will be here with us. And that was really cool because I was just talking to a filmmaker and actor. I was talking to actor Alex Javo, who, along with Simon, are co-starring in Chadwick Whitmire's first film, Malcolm, his first feature-length film. And Alex told me, I'm not sure if he's supposed to tell me, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway. But Malcolm, the movie, the feature movie that Chadwick has directed, will be playing on Amazon Prime and on Tubi in October. Wow! So Chadwick's movie is going to make Tubi. Wow, that is so cool. I'm so happy for him. We got Simon. For July, and I do believe that we'll probably pay Chadwick and Alex a visit in August as well, August or September, closer to when Malcolm is released, which will be in October. On Thursday, July 6th, we have the very lovely Melanie Gretchen will be here. She's a screenwriter and writer and actress, and she will be here with us on the 6th. On the 11th, we have artist Amy Kay will be with us at 8 o'clock. On the 12th of July, we will have Mason Greer will be with us. He's another fine actor. And there's Frosty. All right. Do you know what's funny? I was just talking. Who was I just talking to? I was talking to Rocky Reynolds. I was just talking to Rocky Reynolds the day before yesterday, and he said that in Montana, it was 40 degrees in Montana, and they were getting snow in the northern part of the state. Snow. In the northern part of Montana, it was snowing in northern Montana. 40 degrees in summer. It is it's only 77 here. It's pretty pleasant. Okay. So Mason Greer will be with us on the 12th. On the 14th, we have extraordinary makeup artist, practical effects master Dan Crowley will be with us Friday at 8 o'clock. And that's going to be just an amazing show. I love it. And he does special effects for many films, including this latest, which is Renfield, which starred Nicolas Cage. So the effects that you see in Renfield, if you already saw the movie, they're more likely were made or assisted by Dan Crowley. And he's got a ton of other movies that he's worked on, which will blow your mind. I know it blew my mind. Okay. All right. All right. So, what else is going on? You ask. I'm glad you asked because on the 15th, we have a matinee show. It's on Saturday. It's a matinee show. I know I mentioned that, right? Don't. You know, this is the only week that I'm going beyond the 3 days. And we have the podcast group coming in to hang out with us. Ryan Garrett from the podcast the Night Watch podcast. And I mentioned this during Sabrina. I mentioned this during Sabrina's interview that I would love to bring the Night Watch podcast with the Night Watch Zone guys and clash them together like this, like a one panel. Let's hear from the Night Watch and then watch them just all try to talk. Um, though I do have to say, I do have to say that the Night Watch Zone does have two things going for it. One, the most popular movie that they ever reviewed on this website was Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, and that had me in it. Okay. And two, they do have a really cute mascot in Jerry. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll have to see what the Night Watch podcast has to say. But they'll be here at 4 o'clock on Saturday, July 15th. On the 18th, we have our own Horror with Haas coming in and kicking it with us on the 18th. We can't wait for that. Haas is one of my favorite YouTube channels, and yours as well, I'm sure, because I've seen so many comments on his. And we'll be talking about film collecting, bargain hunting, boutiques, favorite films, favorite ISC films, all that good jazz. And he'll be here with us on July 18th. And then today, I just booked this today. We'll see the return of our good friend Douglas Epps to the show. Douglas Epps has starred in a lot of very cool movies, including Bone Hill Road, and he also starred in Clownado, and he's got some other films that are coming up, and we'll be talking about him and catching up with him. And then on the 26th, I know a lot of you guys. Hi, Brandy, how are you? Glad you are here. Glad you're here. All right, and it looks like I might be getting another guest pretty soon. I'm getting pinged even as we speak, and hopefully by the time I see you guys next tomorrow, I will be talking to film director Israel Luna. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed with that. I am doing good, Brandy. When are you going to come on my show? You gonna come on? You gonna come? You gonna let me interview you? I did Shelly. Shelly was awesome. Repurpose My Way. You got to come on and do the show with me. Love to have you. All right, boys and girls, he is here. Let's put together our hands for our guest, musician Kami Rayne, and from the band Dante HH. Let's go get him. Oh, bummer. Oops.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you, Patrick?
Greetings.
Thank
Greetings.
you so
How
much
are you,
for
sir?
having me.
All right. Wow. All right. Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. I'm very, very, very excited that you're here. I'm sorry about the rest of the guys. Are they gigging or writing or just life?
Live and like Keisuke, Japanese bass player. He's right now he's playing shows with his rockabilly band.
Okay.
And Gonzo, he's right now in Spain.
Where's Gonzo at?
He's in Spain right now.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. That would have been a hard show to do. Everybody saying hello.
It would have been like 3 a.m. for him.
Yeah. Let's see. What are the pronouns? He's a he. I'm a he.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No pronouns here. Though I'm going to start telling people though that I'm going to start identifying it as a cheetah. Why the hell not? I have a cheetah, so I'm going to start identifying as a cheetah.
Well, Iggy Pop identified as a street walking cheetah, you know.
I remember that band. That's right. Yeah. Snow identifies as a snow leopard.
That's good.
No, she's probably not kidding because she has a snow leopard on her channel. I'm glad you guys are all here for this show tonight. I was just going through the calendar, and there's an artist on YouTube, he's really good. I love talking to artists, and people have been wanting this show to happen for like months. I get people pinging me saying, when are you going to interview this guy? You need to have this guy on the show. And the guy's name, his channel name is Lazy Cheetah. And so every time I go to his channel, Cameo, the first thing I say to him is hi, and cheetahs aren't lazy. And then we both have a laugh about that.
That's a great name, though.
It is a great name. I love it.
Wonder what that looks like, a lazy cheetah.
Well, I like your band name, Dante HH. Dante's Hellhound. I think that's a badass name.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Dante HH a little bit, and then we'll get into your story. Now,
Of course.
how would you what 4 words would you use to describe Dante HH?
4 words.
Yeah, what is 4 words? If someone came up to you and say, describe your band in 4 words. What 4 words would you use? Badass is 1 word, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Experimental, reckless, and cartoonish, I guess.
A cartoonist in what way?
Well, we have, I guess, being true to our name, we have a little bit of heaven and hell in what we do. We have a little bit of bits and pieces from different art forms. Like we like to get our influences from movies and comics and other like weird types of things and just art in general. So that makes it kind of like, I guess, colorful, more colorful than you would think, like just by hearing the name, I guess.
Yeah, your band name's pretty wicked. I mean, as soon as I heard it, the first thing that came to me was roots rock, Americana. It just had that vibe to it. And then I saw the video, and I saw your stand-up bass player, and I'm just like, hell to the yes. Because I absolutely love roots rock. It's one of my favorites. In fact, there's a band from San Diego. I'm not sure they're still out there, but they were a few years ago. They were a roots rock band called the Paladins. Do you remember them?
I don't think so, but I will check them out.
There was Paladins. There was a band called Los Lobos.
Oh yeah, of course. I grew
You
up
heard
like
of Los Lobos?
La Bamba definitely seeped into my unconscious when I was a kid. My parents used to listen to that. So
You had the Big Sandy and the Fly Right and the Fly Right Boys. You had like Tramps. There's just a lot of just superb roots rock, rockabilly, rock bands. I do say rock because he's I mean that's really what it is. I mean you guys great live show. I'd love to see you guys live.
thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys would be badass live. See, everybody's coming in, and yes, yes, no, Lazy Cheetah is hilarious, and people have been waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back just a tiny bit. Let's go back to your roots. Speaking of roots,
Yeah.
where were you born and raised at?
Well, I was born in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia, South
Nice.
America. But my parents were very young, and they were planning on doing their college in the U.S. So they, at a very early age, when I was just a baby, they went to live in Miami, and so I have like family there, and so I grew up like in both cultures, and so that from the get-go kind of like was a big influence in how everything developed in my life.
Right. No, you're not. You're not the first. You're not the first artist who we've talked to that has come from Colombia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, yeah, we've actually interviewed a couple that have started off in Colombia. So very cool. Now, how old were you? How old were you when you left Colombia?
thing is, growing up, we used to like spend time there and then go back, and then spend time there and then go back. And then I went to a bilingual school in Colombia, and then like every summer we would come to the US. And then when it was when I was starting middle school, I came to the US, and I spent some time in middle school here in the US, and then went back. And then starting high school, I came back again, and then back again, you know.
See, Brandy's mentioning, I listen to most kinds of music, except the kind that screams at you. Can't handle it. No, that's not Dante. Dante's not like that. Not at all. Uh,
Oh,
uh,
no.
um,
We only have
no,
a few screams here and there, but they're
yeah,
so
I wouldn't know.
bad.
No, they're a full on rock, roots rock. I hope you don't mind me keep saying that because I just love the term. They have a stand up bass player, Brandy. They have a stand up bass player. I don't know about you guys, but I love bands with stand up bass players. They're so badass. Watching Jimbo Heath, watching Jimbo Heath play, and then watching Thomas Ursey play stand up bass, among many others. Just phenomenal. Just amazing. Actually, I think it was Jimmy Heat. No, that was Jimmy was the Reverend. I'm trying to. I'm Jimbo. Jimbo. Jimbo was their stand-up player for Reverend Horton Heat. Now I
Yeah,
know you've heard.
I
I
know.
know you've heard of them.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
one of our main influences.
Is it really? Is
For
it
a
really?
guitar player, Gonzo, he has like a belt buckle, Reverend Horton Heat.
Yes.
He wears everywhere. You know, he's like it's a giant idol.
I have been work. We did so many We did so many shows with those guys in the '90s.
That's I have great and in a good positive way envy of that.
Oh, you should. You should because they were so much. They were so great.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
a friend of ours actually described her band once as like um, a crossfire between like Motorhead and Reverend Horton Heat. You know,
Nice.
so
That's not bad. I like that. I like that. You got that fierceness, yeah, sheer power, and yet at the same time you got that refined, musicianship, behind that. I mean, I like Motorhead, but Motorhead is like they're just so raw. They're like almost like a punk band in the sense. It's like they
I
play
love.
three chords and that's it. Whereas a rockabilly band, a roots rock band, they know how to play their instruments. They know how to play their instruments.
Well,
And
we grew up with the punk ethos because we didn't even like think that we were like at least I didn't think I was that great of a musician. So at least the punk ethos helped me like go through that insecurity of like, oh, am I good enough, or is this gonna work out musically? At least starting out, that was really helpful. And watching, and Motorhead's incredible, but I mean, at least watching all the punk rock bands and all of this was really inspiring. And we were like, this is a great way of giving everybody a chance, at least as you're starting out, and as you start becoming a little bit better and a little bit better, you're not so hard like on yourself or like the band. It really, it's inspiring. And well, Lemmy has always been a hero to me, and I think most rock and rollers, I guess.
uh, but Columbia they've had some really fine bands coming from there.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, am I could be way off here. Maybe it's I don't oh, I don't I'm trying to think if it's where some of the punk bands from Columbia came from. There were a lot of punk bands. I would have to go back, but I know that there were a lot because
Yeah.
I've heard of them. You guys have a very vibrant music scene in Columbia. Music really important down there.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of bands, there are loads of bands and incredibly talented bands, Jake, like so talented. What's sometimes hard is, at least for the rock scene, like to getting somewhere beyond like the reggaeton artists or the tropical artists, the opportunities that they have are mostly like rock and roll bands have to struggle much more. You know, the spots and the opportunities are much more limited, unfortunately. But that's not to say that there aren't very like loads of amazing bands. You know, a
Right.
lot, a lot of our like friends that we, you know, grew up playing with, you know, are still there. They're amazing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me go to the chat real quick. Chat's popping tonight. Thank you guys for all coming out. Let's see. Brandy's saying don't underestimate yourself. Steven's commenting how you and your wife Kim are an amazing couple. I agree with that. Brandy's saying one of my daughters can do the hard R from the heavy metal. From the heavy metal. She's so good at it.
I gotta thank Steven for allowing me to be here because without him, I wouldn't have been in touch with you. And thanks, Steven, and thank you, Patrick, for having me
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Considering our band like to be good enough to talk about here, you know.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, let's talk music. I mean, I'm enjoying this. I don't know if I told you this or not, but well, everybody here will go, "Oh, here he goes." But I have to tell you, but I was a talent buyer for 10 years in California.
Oh,
So,
really?
yes. Yeah, I was a talent
Oh,
buyer.
that's
So I
amazing.
booked
I'm really humbling right now, speaking to you now.
well, that was way back when. That was the late 80s and throughout the 90s. Uh but from 89 to 99, and then I basically retired and came to Michigan. Here comes another friend of ours. Glad to see him here. Our good friend Ant from the Friendly Men is here. Ant reviews things from the Friendly Men podcast. Walked in. Glad you're here, Ant. We're talking to Kami Rayne from the band Dante HH. Do you go by Dante HH, or do you guys call yourselves Dante's Hellhounds?
Um, Usually Dante HH, but Dante Hellhounds works too. The reason why we ended up there with that name, actually, it's a funny story because originally we were like, oh, we love Queen and Korn and U2 and all these bands that have just one name and they're very recognizable. But this was like when we very early in the band's history, like you know, early 2000s, we were like still like you know, very young and still even learning our instruments and stuff. And we were like Dante, but then obviously the internet and everything, there were a million Dantes. And then
Oh,
on our first album, we had a song called Hellhounds. And it's just one of those awesome things that happens with the internet that a lot of people liked it. And not us, but like a supporter of ours and a really good friend, he started using the hashtag "We Are Hellhounds." We are Hellhounds, and the people who liked our band started using that, and it
wow.
just became like a thing. And then everybody would be like Dante Hellhounds, Dante Hellhounds, and then we were like, and some Dante HH, and we were like, okay, like the Hellhound and the whole thing is like our mascot. It kind of like chose us, you know. And we love the blues and all those stories about like Robert Johnson and the Crossroads and all of that. And it goes well with our name. So we were like, you know, Dante Hellhounds.
Now, what instrument do you play in the band yourself?
um, I know some guitar. I wouldn't call myself a guitar player. I only use it to like write songs. And I'm recently like, oops, learning some bass.
Okay.
um, but I'm the lead singer, you know.
Okay. So the vocalist, the heart. You gotta have a good vocalist.
Well, hopefully I'm good enough.
I would think so.
I have like a baritone voice, so that, I guess that makes it interesting, you know.
Now, how often does the band practice? How often do you get out there and use your vocal cords? And what do you do to take care of your vocal cords?
You know, I was fortunate that as I was learning some guitar, I I was like, you know, I need to learn to take care of my voice. So I took some lessons and some stuff, and with some teachers in Colombia. I mean, growing up, I didn't find any rock and roll teachers. I found them much later. Um, so the teachers, the singing teachers that I met didn't know a lot of rock and roll, but they knew good rock and roll singers like Freddie Mercury and David Bowie and stuff like that. So they gave me like some pointers of how to take my care of my voice and warm up and warm down, and and in terms of the rehearsal, I mean, I try to like rehearse a lot like on my own,
Okay.
but with the band it's a completely different thing. Right now we're taking a little bit of a break, but when we were rehearsing, we used to try and do it 3 times a week at least. Go through the songs and get as tight as we could, and yeah, it's like really important to just be able to like just practice as much as you can, and then you start like just little bits and pieces, take like seeing what works and what doesn't.
Do you do warm up exercises? Do you drink tea afterwards? Honey tea?
Yeah, I mean, lots of water. I think that's a key thing. Um, when you're like on a long tour or whatever, I think honey is a very key component to not be able to use your voice to the max and not get it destroyed, especially because live gigs get much rougher than just like one gig here and there. Like when you're touring, it's
Oh yeah,
when you're
yeah.
playing live, you play like twice as fast, and sometimes some of our songs will end up like feeling almost like punk rock and almost like Motorheadish, and so especially the faster ones. So it really, if you're not careful, it really takes a toll.
Yeah, it's funny. People mention, they mention, Motorhead and whatnot, and there's a lot of some of these bands, and you really sort of like, if Lemmy would have taken care of his voice a little bit more, less liquor and cigarettes, just, more taking care of that, because he had a good voice in the beginning. In the beginning of Motorhead when they first came out, that raspiness really served him. But the more he got into the lifestyle and the more he drank, the more he smoked, he was a notorious chain smoker.
Yeah,
And throughout the records, you could see how his voice, and even live, it just went downhill. It just disintegrated. His voice was, it's just purely instinct, that he
yeah.
wasn't taking care of himself at all. And his voice just got more and more shitty as it went on. And quite, I'm not pulling punches. I'm telling you, I mean, early Motorhead ruled, but the drinking and smoking Motorhead with Lemmy just is dog meat. I couldn't listen to that.
Well, I guess it's like an acquired taste. I've always been someone who loves like super refined like music and really tight things, but also I also love bands that are like they sound good, but like you feel like they're on the verge of falling apart. I,
Right.
there's like a beauty in that, like perfect imperfection. Like it's you don't know what's gonna happen. It's like watching
Like
like
Slayer,
going,
like watching Slayer.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was always an adventure.
Watch a Slayer concert into mosh pit. It's like a whole thing.
Oh, dude, the Slayer has the most monstrous pits ever. I would sit there and just like, man, if I was going out and someone said you can have one wish in this world right now, mine would be I want to do a Slayer mosh pit.
Yeah, I mean, Angel of Death, and it's like, bye.
I mean, you could type in Slayer pits on the tube here, and just be freaking amazed, especially when they play outside. It's
Yeah,
not forget the insides when they play outside, and you'll see like this. It looks like a damn comet, like a whirlpool, just
yeah,
of humanity. Um,
like an art form.
now you guys, on the other hand, do you get mosh pits or do you get the dancers? I'm betting you get more dancers than you do moshers.
Depends on the set list. We have a bunch of really fast songs, and those, like I said, when we play them live, they sound a tiny bit faster and a little bit rougher, and so we get both. Like
Okay.
our story is very curious because I went back to live in Colombia after like a year or two of high school here, and then I just graduated from there, and I got some friends together, and we started the band. At the beginning, I started it with my brother. My brother knows how to play drums, and eventually we were like, we're gonna get this going. Uh, we started doing albums, all these things, and around 2016, after a lot of stuff that happened, we had the opportunity, to either try and come out here to California, Los Angeles, to tour, or maybe make a leap of faith and actually like move the band all the way here, you know. And we just said like, you know what, this is gonna be crazy, but you only live once, and we really like this band, and we've been through everything, and let's just try and do it. And we ended up out here, and out here it was great because we had never seen like this whole side of like Los Angeles, where there's like the East LA backyard gigs, like
All
punk
right.
gigs where like 300 kids, like 16-year-old kids are there, and we started playing, and they would dance and they would mosh pit and everything, and that was like a whole new world for us.
Yeah, that's sort of like the house concert taken to the 10th power. Uh, uh, yeah, I started hearing about that. About like I know some bands they would tour because they necessarily couldn't get a gig at a club per se, but they would do house parties. They book like you would do like a stripped down version of your set, do like maybe acoustically stand up bass. You could do that. But then I heard more and more people were, they were working with their neighbors and saying, "Hey, we're gonna have a concert. You want to get in on it?" And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But yeah. Um, and you came from did you now you originated you were from Florida and you moved out to Los Angeles. I was gonna say you mentioned about the band scene over in Florida. I would take it that it would be more. I don't really when I think about Florida, I'm not really thinking. I'm not really thinking alternative or punk or psychobilly or any of that. I'm thinking mostly reggae. I'm thinking mostly the Indian, the Caribbean music. Did you have trouble getting gigs in Florida?
No, I didn't have the band in Florida. I had it in Bogota, in Colombia. I
Oh,
came
okay.
back to Colombia, and we started the band there.
Oh,
And
okay.
and as the band started developing, it was like 10 years ago. Uh, we started getting like interest from here, from California. Like there's our first album. We got lucky. It was the days of early social media, like MySpace and stuff like that, where
Right.
a lot of like bands were getting a lot of like interest, and it was like this whole connection that was very organic. It wasn't like Facebook pages now that they're charging you for everything. Back then, it was very organic, and we got the opportunity to connect with a really badass producer called Sylvia Massey. She worked with Rick Rubin. She was the engineer for Rick Rubin, and like I think the System of a Down, the first album when she was starting out, and then she went on to record a bunch of badass like artists like Prince and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Johnny Cash, and she liked the band, and she told us like, I'm starting like she had a studio in Northern California, and she said, I'd love to record your debut album. I'm starting, like, I have a big studio with different like studio rooms, and there's one that's kind of experimental. If you guys are willing to be the guinea pigs for this new room and stuff, I won't charge you that much, and you can just come out here and stay here, and I'll help you out. There will be food and stuff, and we were like, there's an opportunity we can't pass, and we just went out there, and that's how our connection to California began.
Mm.
Um, and eventually, we tried to make it work down there, and it did to a certain extent. But more and more, like California just simply kept kind of like calling us, And so
Right.
we through Sylvia, we got a lot of like connections, booking agents, and people who wanted to help us out here. But right before we were about to leave, um, there was like this Vans, like the brand Vans. They were like uh, they were like promoting this movie called Los Punks, which is about East LA punk scene, and it showcased this whole different scene. Like we were already booked for like the Viper Room and a bunch of like popular places here in LA right before we left. But we saw this movie and we saw this whole like thing with bunch of like kids who were just like punk rockers, and they just made these guerrilla like gigs, and we were like, wow, like we had no idea this existed. We connected with one of the guys who was promoting the film throughout South America, and then when we came up here, we played, yeah, like the popular venues, but also that scene, and kind of like opened up like a bunch of worlds for us.
Yeah. Yeah. How were you guys received for the first time that you went to Los Angeles? Did you because you said you mentioned playing the Viper Room and whatnot. That used to be a very hard gig to get. Is it hard to book? Is it hard for the band to get booked? I mean, did you have a hard time booking Dante's when you first started, or were people, because they wanted to see you? Was it easy for you to get inside the clubs?
Well, at the beginning, like I said, we got lucky because through our the producer, our the producer to our first album, she connected us with one of her friends, whose name is Abby Lasso, and she was a booking agent for several bands. And Abby just said like, I can help you guys. Maybe I can book you guys in several places to get the ball rolling. So I don't know how she did it, but that was like
Fame.
the initial thing. I think maybe because we were coming from outside, it was easier to book. Then later we were just like, let's just take every gig we can take, whether it's paid or not, and we just started playing everything. Every gig we got, we went and we tried it. And slowly but surely we started like gaining like a decent reputation, and the play like places in Hollywood would call us, places in East LA, Long Beach, and different places. We just started playing everywhere, and it didn't matter. We just played and played and played and played. And
Right.
so little by little, we like when we went to the Viper Room, we connected with a whole like underbelly of people that there's a band called the Rockets out here, and their leader Tony, his name is Tony, and he was like, there's a whole like scene in Los Angeles that most people don't know about. There's a there's a whole punk rock scene. Come to this place. It used to be called Cafe Nella. It's no longer there. Now it's a record store called Permanent Records. But back then, this is like 2017 all the way till pre-COVID, 2019. It was like a CBGB's type place. It was like a punk rock. Anybody could go in there and play, and that was super cool because we connected with a bunch of friends and people who helped us out.
Right. Right. We have a question for you. Tell us Cammy's favorite LA drummer that played with Dante's HH.
Favorite drummer. Favorite drummer.
Favorite LA drummer that played with Dante's.
Like like with the band or with or with or with like a joint gig, you know.
Let's see. Didn't say. Just say. Tell us Cammy's favorite LA drummer that played with Dante's HH. You're right. I'm not sure if he played with the band or played on a bill with the band. Hopefully, whichever. Oh, so who is your favorite drum outside of Dante's HH? LA drummer.
Okay. Well, there's many, you know. I've met, I think, if anything, I've met really good drummers out here. But right now, one guy that I've always admired for his ability, and he's just one of the best drummers that I've ever seen, is a guy named Anthony Drinkwater. He's just a badass, you know. He has two bands. One that's called the Birth Defects. He plays drums for them, and
Okay.
he also has his own band where he sings and he plays guitar. It's called Enemy Proof. Really good. He's a great
Uh,
drummer. One off the
this,
top of my head.
we'll see. We'll see if that's. Let's see if that's it. Waiting for his response. He might be sitting there going like, "Man, how the hell did he guess that right off the bat?" Uh, Yeah, LA scene, man. LA scene. I think it's different from what you're telling me now. It looks like it's a lot more diversified. Like before it was always about the Sunset Strip, but now it sounds like like I know there's other venues out there like the Glass House in Pomona. Man, I never knew that place was so popular, but it is. Um, I know there's some other venues out there that are very popular. And as far as you're asking about the booking agent, how they get you gigs, how was she able to do that? Well, that's an easy answer too. Uh, we trade, we trade. Yeah. So what happens is you call up, you say, hey, I'm Patrick. I'm calling from the Edge here in Palo Alto. I'm going to book Dottie's HH into two of your clubs, one in Eugene and one in Portland. And then when you have a band that's coming on the road that you believe in, you call me up, let me know when they're coming. I'll get you a date. And so you trade it off. He's like, you take care of me, I take care of you.
I think in life that's pretty much it. You know, collaboration. You know, you're kind of like connected to everything, and
Yeah.
the more you help others, the better you do. You know.
You know
Um,
what's funny? It was funny too, Cami, is that was easy to do with other venues outside your state. Now try to ask me to do the same thing within my city. That wouldn't work.
really?
That would no, we're too territorial. Oh gosh, yes. We used to have to fight. We used to have to fight with Slims in San Francisco. We
Yeah.
would have to fight with Slims, and then we would have to fight with Bill Graham Presents before they were bought by Clear Nation. We
Yeah.
would have to fight with them, like like we want to book this band here. Well, you can't because they're within 60 miles radius, so you can't. They can't play within a 60-mile radius.
Yeah, I mean, when we got here, there were a couple of people who told us that, but we were like, "Oh man, are we like breaking a rule or whatever? Are we gonna get banned?" But then we were like, "Oh, but we really need to get this going, so let's just try and see what happens," And we just did it, and it didn't really matter. And I think maybe because we were coming off from Colombia, I think that helped us like navigate through all those territorial things. We would go to Orange County and people would tell us like, oh, they don't like the people from Los Angeles or vice versa. And we didn't find that at all. Like we would tour with, not tour, but like play with bands from all over. And I think, I don't know if it's because of the way the internet and struggling like bands and musicians, how it's become that everybody's trying to like really like help each other, or at least that was our experience. Everybody kind of like, I guess we were very fortunate to connect with really good people and bands, and we would love to see the diversity in bands because the thing is that at least in where we came from in Bogota, Bogota's a great city, and we owe Dante owes its identity to it. But we don't have a lot of bars like they do here. We don't have that type of infrastructure down there for bands to play so much, you know. So for us, it was just like an adventure to see, like, wow, this is a new place, and all these bands we've never seen them, and they're so different, and like, wow, we just and as a friend told us, like, the sound you bring from there, it's gonna start getting influenced by the sound here, and then as we started working on new music, we found like, wow, like we're getting like these sounds that we didn't know that we could do, and it's just from being influenced by bands here, you know.
Right. I mean, it used to be, from what I understand. I mean, LA used to be popping. I mean, you go out to Sunset Strip, and there would be so many different bands playing, so many different, a lot of metal bands, a lot of rock bands, whatnot. Like I said, the Viper Room used to be like, get a gig in the Viper Room, and you were just, you were that was good, like the calling card. Well, you
Yeah,
got a gig there, because a lot of labels would come out there, and they would do label showcases and whatnot. You mentioned earlier about MySpace. I got to tell you, that's probably the one thing, only thing I really miss about MySpace, was that it used to be very, very band friendly.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it made our band like we without MySpace. I think it would have been very hard to end up where we are. You know, we really like that was like a golden era, and nobody knew it that it was gonna like
Yeah.
go by so fast. You know, it was just very and yeah. I mean, LA. Obviously, everybody knows the Sunset Strip, and it's awesome. And we've had the fortune of playing um, some of those places. But I think in recent years, and I mean, this was mostly pre-COVID, 2017, all the way till early 2020. There were all these other places, you know, that were just that's booming with bands and great like rock and roll, and they weren't in the Sunset Strip. They were like downtown LA. They were East LA. That they'd be like, you know, uh, Burbank and all these other places, you know, and you just had to like find them. I guess we just got lucky that we met so many local bands who wanted to help us out, you know.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear that too, because of all the LA used to be, whew, man, back in the 90s, man, LA used to be dog eat dog. It used to be dog eat dog, and it was rough. I mean, and you had to pay to play on top of it.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, it was so hard to get gigs there. Bands would just be holding it over your head, or venues would be holding it over your head,
Yeah.
selling a certain amount of tickets, or else, or
Yeah.
like,
You,
yeah, it was tough.
you try to like just make a point to like not do that, you know. Um, and we were just like when we actually got offered for like a couple of those, we were like, you know, we don't have enough fans out here, so we can't do that. You know, maybe when we actually get there, maybe we could do it. So whenever we've played in Hollywood, we've always tried to make it like special. You know, like we got invited, or a band couldn't play and they called us in, or like we played many times inside the Rainbow, but it was never like that. We were just kind of like invited, and they really liked us there. And I don't know if it's because we had like a tribute song to Motorhead, or they just liked us. We ended up playing a lot there, but it wasn't like the only place. We had like, okay, these are the places in Hollywood, but these are the other places. This is the Northwest, or downtown, or other places, and we'd like
Right.
to just still
Well,
get.
you got invited for sure. I'm probably for two things. One, you promoted like hell, so that would always get you into a venue. I mean, if you could go out there and promote, even if it was a tough last minute gig, but if they saw you out there putting posters up, or putting it in the record stores, or putting it on telephone poles or what have you, venues always appreciated that. That was one of the key things that I looked for with bands was,
Yeah.
would they promote? I still do. I still have that. I still have that mentality, Cami. I still do that. I still look at people, even here when people I book here. I still have that booking agent mentality. Like, are they promoting themselves? Are they trying? Yes. Oh, how big of a following do they have? Do they work that following? Do they, are they active? And I do all that, because to get anybody in here is easy, but getting anybody in here and having them have a following with them, that takes a little bit more. That's a little bit more tough.
Yeah, and
Unless you play on a Monday.
well, we played a when once we got here, we were like, it doesn't matter, we just gotta do it, and whether there's 1,000 people or just one or two, and there were a lot of gigs were like that. There were some gigs where it was just one guy who loved the band, and he bought a shirt and the thing, and it didn't matter because it was just practice, And then some other times we got lucky, and maybe there was a band who had a following, and they invited us over, and we played, and they liked us too. But we came from a place where, with like, it was very kind of like difficult to get like anything like really like going to have a real like career as musicians. So we were just humbled to and grateful enough to just see people listening to a band they hadn't heard before, and just at least appreciating it or giving it a chance. Whether they liked it or not, at least they gave us like their attention. And today, um, everything's competing for your attention. So the fact that somebody like just stood there and listened to what you did was great. That's another reason why we worked so hard on our videos and on the stuff that was connected to the music. We tried to make our videos very cool, very cinematic sometimes, or with themes, something that way when people like our band live, and we always try to make the show like wild and like rock and roll fast and like
Right.
intense. If they liked it, they could like find the band and, wow, these guys have really cool videos too, and like they could just like find more stuff and like a whole concept behind it.
Now, has Dante recorded any albums out? Have you recorded any full length records?
Yeah, we have 3 albums, and we have an EP, which everything is up on anywhere where you listen to music, Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music.
Let me ask you this real quick, Kami, because I like to know this. Which of the streaming services pays bands the best, or are they all just pay shitty?
I think Bandcamp is the one that gives bands the most like chances and opportunities. Well, that's sort of changing now because they got sold to a bigger like thing, and it's a whole thing. But Bandcamp always does like Friday Bandcamps where they don't take anything. Everything goes to the artist every now and then.
Oh.
So that's great. But streaming is it's not great. I think YouTube is probably useful to a certain degree if you have 1,000 followers. You have cool videos and stuff. But streaming is tough. I mean, I guess the good part of it is that people can listen to your music wherever. But in reality, I think we've made like more money from stuff like we did this little cassette in the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like a little EP that we recorded at our rehearsal space, and we were like, should we try and do this on vinyl and stuff? And everybody was doing vinyl, and it was super expensive. And then we were like, what if we just do like a cassette, almost like a collectible, you know? The music will be up, but at least it'll have some art and stuff. And stuff like that, and merch and stuff has given us, I think, more money than streaming, you know?
Right, right. Now, have you guys been on? I mean, it sounds like LA is a lot more vibrant than I thought. How many clubs do you think are out there are still doing live music in LA?
I mean, when we first got here, there were like all these places, but then COVID hit, and then a bunch of them like just broke apart, you know. And now, right now, we've been working on an album, you know. So we haven't been playing live, and I haven't gone out to too many spots, but there are a lot of them, you know, still. And I see that as COVID starts to subside, there's a lot of them that are springing out more and more. You know, there's a lot of them still. You know,
That's good because I mean, when I got here to Detroit in the Detroit area, I mean, we used to get those, the alternative magazines, that comes out every Thursday. We used to get one of those called the Metro Times, and in the back they had all the clubs and all the bands that were playing, and it used to be pretty awesome, and same thing with San Jose, where I used to work at. I used to have a magazine called the Metro,
yeah,
and it had the same thing on the back of the magazine. It had the club section and who was playing and all that. But as it's gone on, it slowly just disappeared. Now I think the Metro is just electronic. And Detroit, I can tell you right now, it's lost a lot of its venues. There's not very many venues left in Detroit.
really,
Very, yeah, very few,
that's a
especially
shame.
in the club. Yeah,
Detroit has such a history, you know, musical history that's gigantic. You know,
yeah. You would think. I mean, for our for but it's just been there's still a handful of clubs left, but not very many. Just like maybe when I got here, there might have been like 25. Now I think there's like 6 or 7. I mean, it's just very, very tiny here now. Um, but it's good to hear that live music is alive and well and thriving in Los Angeles because I was wondering about that. Like are they still, is LA still a viable place for bands? And
well, I mean, yeah, I mean it is, but I guess you have to just not just go to the popular places. Like the popular places have bands all the time, but if you look around and connect with friends and stuff, they can really take you to the underbelly, and you can just really discover a lot of like bands. And there's a whole like thing where there's bands that coming in and coming out, and the whole time like there's like shows all the time, you know. I haven't been as active going to shows lately, but I see all our friends and stuff playing shows, and it just gets like bigger and bigger. Like there's so I guess after COVID, a lot of people just wanted to also be able to play, and because there were so many restrictions where people couldn't, they would go and then they couldn't, and then they would cancel and this and that. Everybody was just like, I just want to have some fun and be able to listen to music, and there's amazing places. There's a place like in the valley in San Fernando Valley called the Maui Sugar Mill Saloon, and it's like this little spot where you know everybody, sometimes they go and play blues or punk rock or whatever. Loads of bands, different types. Sometimes you'll even find like somebody like Dave Grohl or Slash going in there, just jamming out. There's all these little places like that out here, but you just gotta like find them. And we discovered them because of what I told you. We played that show at the Viper Room. We were lucky that this guy who was like connected to this whole underground scene came to see us, and he said, Hollywood is awesome and Sunset Strip is great, but there's this whole world that you guys should discover and you should connect with, and that's what opened up like this whole like new world for us, you know.
That's almost like reverse, like almost like reverse raves almost. Raves used to be underground too.
Yeah,
And once in a great while you would get bands playing at youth centers or what have you. Places that didn't have a bar. Like you couldn't sell liquor there, but you could if you played there like a rec center or whatnot, you could actually make a lot of money. You could go ahead and charge people $10 to come on in, and you get three or four bands in there, maybe a band on the road, and then you set up this gig, and then you can sell merch and keep your entire merch.
yeah,
That's really key. I mean, it's really cool to see that spirit is alive. We had a room in L.A. In the Bay Area called Gilman 924,
yeah,
and that was a lot of what you said. A lot of bands went there. Oh, they advertised, but it really was an underground place.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, what are some of the bands what are some of the bands that you've seen that you've been impressed with?
I really liked one that I don't know what happened to them because after post COVID, I didn't hear from them, and their lead singer, I guess, went solo. But I loved one band that was called The Shrine. They were amazing. I really liked the band that I mentioned of the drummer, Birth Defects. I thought that was fantastic band. I mean, I have a whole like playlist on my Spotify of like badass LA bands that I've found. I don't remember all the names, but every time that I would see one band and it would surprise me, I'd be like, wow, like this is great. And I myself have always been like a musical like omnivore, sort of so to speak. So I don't really, as long as they have something that I like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me what genre they are. I'll
Yeah.
just include them in the thing. And I've seen bands from hardcore punk to metal to experimental to all sorts of things.
Yeah, I was like that too. But then again, you have to be like that when you're a buyer. You gotta be able to accept everybody. I loved everything. I mean, the only thing that I just never could understand it, because were some of the thrash bands. I was all right, but I mean, I'd like to hear my vocals. I don't want someone going. I can't go with that. I want to be hearing you sing. This. You know.
I mean, it's not like my forte, but I like to give every genre a chance. So I always try and find like one band from each genre at least that I can say like, okay, this isn't like what I usually listen to, but I know this band from that genre that I like. And today, like so many like subgenres have like appeared that I mean, it's become almost like every every band is like its own genre.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Snow just said, let's see. Let's catch up with the chat here. Let's see. Good to see you, North. Good to see you, Andre. Snow's comment about Bandcamp Fridays. That's right. Let's see. Oh, we're saying hi to our friend Steven, who's in here. Hi, Erica. Echo calls Steven Hollywood. Awesome. Awesome. See, Snow says, I bet you would love her music. And then she says, all my stuff is super tight and refined. So there might be a connection there. I like that. Unlock 45 new genres. Yeah, no doubt, right? What does that say? Everything is so old. Everything old becomes new again. And Erica is here. Good to see you, Erica. Glad you're here. We're talking with vocalist Kami Rayne from the band Dante HH or Dante's Hellhound. Yeah, yeah. That's a trip. I love all genres too. My like I said, my favorite were even though I did a ton of punk bands. I mean, ton of punk. uh, uh, American, like for like not let's see, like rock, folk rock. I like a lot of that. I was more like I was like roots rock. You ever heard of a band called the Blasters? I know you got to heard of the
Yeah,
Blasters.
yeah, of course.
I was gonna say if you hadn't heard of the Blasters, that might be it.
No,
Um,
no, no.
yeah, the Blasters. So one of the top three times one of the top three people I ever got to work with was Dave Allen was one of them.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Dave Allen's the shit. Of course, worked with Social D, a lot of other great bands. Now, have you got to play? Have you gotten to play in front of some bigger national bands? What bands have you got to play with, open with, or open or play main support with?
We opened for the Dwarfs. Punk rock band.
Nice,
Yeah, and
nice.
that was such an honor. Not only because we opened for them, but we opened for them in 2020. Yeah, right before the pandemic. And when they played their set at their very last song, they gave the mic to our bass player, and he sang the last, like he screamed the last note. And
Right.
somewhere in YouTube for the world to see. It's the Dwarfs and Corbin Bowl.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, any Dwarves fans will ask you. This is the first question any true Dwarves fan will ask. That is, how long did they play for?
Well, I remember I was so enjoying myself so much that time kind of like compressed, and I felt like it felt both like it was going by so fast, and then it felt like there
It did.
was not only that, but like Nick Olivieri was playing with them that night. So that was amazing.
The Dwarves. So we got to talk a little bit about the Dwarves because some of you any of you guys in the chat, have you ever heard of the band called the Dwarves? So I used to know I used to know one of the guitar players, Mike Fox, used to play with them, and so the Dwarves, the Dwarves were, oh man, they were so much fun. So the Dwarves used to get up there, and you would take bets. You would take bets. There'd be people in the crowd that would take bets to see how long the set would last. I'm dead serious. You would have the people saying 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Nobody ever said more than 20 minutes. If you said, "Oh, they'll play 45 minutes," I saw their set list. They're 45 minutes. You just give your money now. So the thing was like you sit there and you just sitting there waiting for it. And I got to watch one of their shows once at another venue. A friend of mine would work there, and he says, "Yeah, you come on over. I'll put you on front stage." So I'm on front stage to the side, and I'm watching them play. And they were like 4 songs into their set. And then some guy tried to grab the microphone from the singer's hand. He turned around, took that son of a bitch, whirled it like this, and came back and delivered it across the guy's dome. The guy's head just goes, boop, and then the blood's everywhere. People are just ragging on him. The guy who got hit, he's laughing. He thought it was funny, even though he probably got a concussion out of it. They came back. The singer turned around and just thrashed the drum set. They were there on set for no more than 10 minutes. And people just absolutely went crazy. They loved it.
No, this one was longer than maybe 20, maybe longer than 20 minutes, I'm sure. And they had like this guy, Nick Olivieri, playing with them, who's played with Queens of the Stone Age and all these like bands, and it was great to see them with him, and I remember that people started going really crazy, and at the end of it, one of the guys from the band said like, "Isn't that Keisuke, our bass player?" He was grabbing the mic and he was singing he was like in the band. He was part of the Dwarfs.
Yes, that's what they do. They would try to get the microphone to do sing-alongs, and the one guy, he just wasn't having it that night. He turned around and whipped it. He whipped that microphone away. Pow! You could hear a feedback. It fed back into the monitor. Boom! And then that was it. About 10 minutes. That was it. But that was what you expected. That's so much fun. That's so much. Well, I can understand them being a little bit more older, a little bit more mellower. But 20 minutes, that's an eternity. That's a long ass set for those guys.
A lot of intensity too, you know.
Oh yes.
But like I said, I'm from the world that I love the punk rock crowd and that intensity, and I also love like the blues and stuff. Like my fiance Kim, her father was very famous. He was part of famous. Like he played with many. He was a bass player, and he played with many famous country and blues artists. And to me, that was just like a dream come true. Like with Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and all these people. And to me, those guys are just as special as the Dwarfs and Dead Kennedys. You know, I love them both. You know, we were trying with our band to grab from that world and from this world and like just make our own Frankenstein of that. You know.
There was a great band, like I mentioned earlier, that was a great band that had that sort of nice melting pot to it. There's two bands actually. One was a band called Snare. They're long gone. I don't think they ever really they were a good band, but they were like, unless you were there, you would never hear of them. But there were two brothers. Oh, okay. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. Um, they played rock and root. They played rock roots Americana, and then there was a band on Dr. Dream Records called the Cadillac Tramps that were like that as well. A lot of rock, a lot of roots, a lot of rock. You know, black leather jackets, greased back hair, but with the edge. And
Love that.
really good band, really good band.
And you
And
know, it was crazy for us to like play the punk rock crowd, and then we'd go to the psychobilly crowd, and they would allow us to play there. It wasn't territorial or anything. I guess.
oh gosh, no,
We were-
punk fans are like, I'll tell you what, of all the genres, the most accepting are punk bands. They don't care what you do. They don't care. They,
yeah,
they as long as it's an upbeat tempo, they don't care. They really don't. That's why you see so many punk rock bands. That's why you see them a lot of times over at reggae, or you see them at ska bands, or ska nights. They want something a little bit more upbeat, a little more of an upbeat. But they're accepting of just about anybody, except unless you're on a major label. If you're on a major label, then no, they're not going to accept you. They're gonna call you a sellout. What, you're signed up with Sony? Sellout. But otherwise they'll accept anybody.
no, I don't
Yeah.
think like big labels are signing bands anymore. So I guess that they won't have that problem anymore.
No, no. It's a problem that should have, though. It really is. It's a problem that should have.
Yeah,
But the fact that but the fact is that you got 3 albums and an EP. Jesus Christ! You know what you'd be right now if you were on a label?
I know.
You'd be touring. You would be touring the country if you're on a major label on 3 albums.
I think for all of us who were like grew up wanting to be musicians and in bands, that was like the kind of like the dream as we were growing up, and then the world started changing, and you just had to adapt. And then what happens is that you become kind of like a journeyman. You stop expecting that, and you just start like playing music and just going with the flow, and every like opportunity that you get it's just part of the journey. And you're just kind of like you're really confronted with why you want to do it. Do you want to do it for fame and fortune? Maybe there's easier paths for that, or do you want to do it and I don't want to sound too romantic about it, but do you want to do it for the art itself? And and that's just something that I guess in this day and age it kind of like confronts you with, especially if you're in like a rock band, because like rock is no longer like mainstream and stuff. I think it also filters a lot of people who maybe aren't doing it for the right reasons. Um, I think I think that's what allows like interesting bands to come out because they're no longer like it's although it's a struggle, they're doing it for the right reasons, I guess, and not being afraid to experiment or trying to like sound like, oh, we gotta sound like this to be popular or whatever. You get more
Yeah,
interest.
something else. You would actually get that. You would actually you actually get bands that do that. That would copy somebody else's style because once they got popular, they would all follow it. Like when Nirvana popped, everybody started all of a sudden. You saw all these bands suddenly want to play grunge. First it was rock bands and hair bands that were really popular and on MTV and whatnot. But then Nirvana popped, and next thing you know, everybody wanted to be the next Nirvana. And
Yeah,
I saw local bands that I knew they'd be rock bands that were hair metal bands, whatnot, and nothing wrong with that at all. But all of a sudden they come over to my club and they say, "Yeah, we're gonna reinvent ourselves. We're gonna be, we're gonna start playing more grungy stuff." And it was just like, why would you want to play grungy stuff? When you're a fine rock band, But that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to go ahead and change their sound to fit what was popular.
no.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
Well, I don't have a problem with bands changing their sound as long as it's for the right reasons, you
Yes.
know, an artistic reason. Because then, I'm a fan of David Bowie. He changed like all his life, um, but he did it for the right reasons. When bands are changing it because this band that we knew became popular by being like this, and now we had to do it. And it's not so cool. Um, I went to art school when I was younger, and I grew up like my heroes were all these writers and artists and rock and rollers who kind of like were kind of like just not they didn't compromise, and they were kind of like stayed true to what they were doing, whether it was popular for the era or commercial. It made sense commercially or not, and so that's one of the reasons why like if there's a change in what they do, if it's for an artistic reason, then you know I think it's growth, and every artist should like evolve.
Yeah.
But
I agree. That's the one thing, I found myself telling this, but you're right. I mean, like you hear a lot of bands that call each other sellouts. I still hear that today. I can't believe that. It's like, man, I thought that term went out in the 90s, sellout. But no, people still use it, and it's just like I don't understand what does it mean. What does that mean? What does it, because
yeah,
when people be talking about a popular band changing their sound, and it's like, well, they're just doing it to be popular, stay popular, stay relevant. That's the only reason why they did it. And it's like, well, honestly, what's wrong with that? They're evolving. They're
well,
evolving.
I also I always I like it when bands get like audiences, because like today is like so difficult,
It
and
really is.
so I don't feel bad when a band gets like bigger, like
Mhm.
there's a band in LA that's called that they came from Brazil, and we became friends because Brazilians and Colombians were kind of like neighbors, and they're completely different genre to us, but they're doing really good right now. They went on tour with like Doyle from like the Misfits and stuff. Their name is Red Devil Vortex, and they are like they've fought really hard. They've gone through tons of stuff just like we did, and they're getting bigger, and to me that's great. I think the fact that bands are coming out, that's what keeps the genre alive, the rock and roll genre, because there's no new bands, then you're just the only thing left for you are the old bands that made
Yeah.
it back then when the record industry was still about selling records, and then it just becomes like a nostalgia trip, and it's not reinvented. It just becomes stagnant.
No, you're right. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why, during the summer tours, I'm actually thinking about this. Like Kid Rock is playing here in Detroit. He's gonna play two shows at Tiger Stadium, and he's gonna probably sell those out. And there's like 50,000 a piece people a piece, right? But do I think that Kid Rock could tour on the West Coast and draw that kind of no? He probably do. He probably would fight to fill out a 5 to 7,000 seater. He would fight to fill that out.
Yeah,
Um, it's just like, it's no longer a guaranteed that a band is, other than maybe literally just a handful. A
yeah,
handful. Used to be you could name it like you could name 30 bands you could build a tour around.
yeah,
And they came out there. Oh yeah, this band's still on tour. All right, yeah, we could put some other main support on to build them up and throw them on the road. You can't do that now.
no,
Now a lot of these bands are from the 80s and the 90s or 90s and then the 2000s. Now they go on classic rock tours like
yeah,
Sugar Ray and Smash Mouth and Lit and Eve Six, and it's just like Maroon Five. It's like wow, they can't tour on their own anymore. They can't sell tickets anymore.
no. It's getting progressively harder, especially for like rock bands and rock acts. I mean, I think Brian Eno was going on tour, and when I heard that, I was just like, wow, like things are really getting hard.
Yeah, no, nobody just mentioned about the festivals. Yeah, the festival seems to be the wave of the future. It used to be once in a while, Gathering of the Tribes, Lollapalooza,
Mm.
Burning Man, but
Yeah,
now that seems to be pretty much the way it is.
yeah,
And you get out of a big space, you invite 40 bands up there, and everybody gets like a 30-minute set, and the first band goes on at 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, and then it's just rough. It's really really rough,
yeah.
and it's almost like too much, like it's too much. You expect the people to be there, to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and be ready to rock and roll all the way till 11:30, 12:30 at night, and you're not going to get that. You're going to get people coming in, staying for a few hours, and then bailing because it's just wall to wall music all the time.
And a lot of the festivals where these bands, like the big bands, go in, like they're all end up kind of like having the same bands, and that becomes a problem too, because the
Uh,
big bands take most of the space, I think.
let's see. No classic rock from the 60s to 70s. Not anymore. I think the last two bands and the last three bands that are truly doing that now are Kiss, Rolling Stones, Aerosmith. There's just not very many left bands. I mean,
Yeah,
Journey's fractured. A lot of those, Queen still gets out there once in a great while, but it's not quite the same.
mm,
So I think we're seeing the Clearance Clearwater. Oh brother, Creedence Clearwater Revival are still out there. John Fogerty is still out there.
yeah,
There are still a few out there, but they're less and less. And now you're starting to see the new classic rock are like bands from the 90s to the 2000s.
yeah.
Uh, so
80s.
well, hopefully that's a catch 22 right there as well. Steven's saying he thinks that Dante HH could match them if they decide to do a tribute cover, and that's the other thing that's been going on too, is that now these tribute bands that we know and see, I mean, now that they seem to be very popular, almost more popular than original music.
Yeah, I think because there's so much information nowadays. It's like a sea of information that there's so much that there's like nothing. People are too overwhelmed and too stimulated to sit down and like find bands. It's hard unless like a friend shows them to you, or you end up at a friend's like gig or whatever. So I think a lot of people revert to what they know, which is like, this is something I know. This feels kind of like safe. And I think tribute bands kind of like have that to offer.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the button, Cami, about the safe part. It really is that way. Um, I'll be honest with you. When I moved here to Michigan, um, for the last 23 years, I quit listening to commercial radio. I haven't bought an album in 20 years.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, I go to Spotify once in a while. I heard somebody mention a name, I'll plug it in to listen to it. I'm getting better at that. But you're right. I mean, a lot of times you turn on a radio station or whatnot, you want to hear familiar songs.
Yeah.
So, though I have to say, I was very weird and a little bit upsetting when I heard this DJ on this classic rock radio sit there and say, "Okay, we got some classic rock for you now from Maroon 5," and you're going like,
Oh my.
Maroon 5, that's not classic. Here, remember this one from No Doubt?
Yeah, I know.
It's just like, excuse me, but when did No Doubt become classic rock? No one told me.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people are calling a lot of those bands from late '90s and early 2000s already classic rock. It's like, wow.
Well, nobody just says here, music has changed, but just found you, Cami. It's my kind of music. Yes, I will definitely say that. Everybody here
Thanks.
in fact, we do have a small giveaway for tonight, and this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to have some friends help me on this one. So after the show's over, we are going to have everybody drop comments down below. You can ask Cami a question. You can leave a question about the interview. You can mention one of the bands that was mentioned that we mentioned tonight during the interview. Mention the band in the comment section. The first 15 people that leave a comment, leaving the favorite band, favorite part of this interview, or anything else like that, we're going to put your name on a wheel, and we're going to spin the wheel, and whoever wins the wheel is going to win a cassette tape of Dante HH music. That's what we're going to do for you tonight. And Cami was very gracious enough to do that. And so after the show's over, not here, not now, after the show's over, come back, drop a comment down. It won't work until there's 15 comments by 15 different people. So that's what it has to be. So try to tell your friends to come out and listen to the show. Use an alternative channel. I don't care. As long as we have 15 people in the comment section, then we're going to put your name on a wheel, spin it, and whoever wins, we will send you a cassette tape of Dante's latest EP. I think that's cool. That's cool. I think that's very cool. Now,
I gotta warn everybody though. We recorded that EP at a rehearsal space by ourselves during the pandemic, so it's really raw, and it was purposely done like that,
Right. People
But
don't
it's fun. I mean, and it has
people want stuff,
and it was like almost handmade. We don't have many of those, so
that's so punk rock though. That's so DIY though, Cami.
yeah,
That's why we'll get 15 comments, because that's punk as fuck right there to go ahead and make an EP like that.
Yeah, we like tried to do it like a little like story. So it's like basically Dante's story coming into LA. So it has like 5 songs, and they all relate to what we experienced out here, and the virus and the pandemic and the lockdowns and all of that. So it comes with like a booklet that like has like the stories and a little like commentary and everything, and it was all like pretty much done by yourselves.
Yeah, you know what though? It's like some folks might not have a cassette player. We understand that. It's just something cool that if you have a cassette player, cool. But if you don't, you still can put it on top of your desk or what have you. When
I
your
mean,
friends come over, they can take a look at it. I mean, it's something. It's something to talk about because it's something you don't see that with. It's something you don't see very often anymore. And I know cassette tapes are coming back. I hear. I
well,
I
for,
heard
for,
vinyl was, but I didn't know cassette tapes. But I've been hearing that lately.
well, for us, it was like, the songs are gonna be up on the streaming services. So it's not about like the songs themselves. It's about like almost like a toy, like you change
Classified
your
them.
reasoning for having something physical. It's
Right.
just. And we play with the colors, and you could choose like the color, and we could do like little little things, give it like a sticker and stuff like that. And we just played with it, and in the end, we see ourselves as like artists too, not just musicians, So we were like, this is like something that'd be fun to have, not just, oh, I'm gonna play this, but like maybe change the reason for having a cassette tape, like a collectible, you know. And like
Uh,
there's bands that have like action figures, like we have
right.
a cassette and merch and all of that,
We got some questions for you here. Steven wants to know if you say hi. He wants to know what the weather is like in Cali, and we say hi to Kim for him. Let's see. Snow did a cassette with her second album. North says the way music is now, trying to find an album is so hard. Yeah, unless you're Taylor Swift. And nobody mentions. He asks you, "Are you having fun?" That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, when the boys get back from from their other activities, um, you mentioned you guys were taking a break. So will you guys all reunite and then look for new band members, or will you play as a trio?
No, I mean, we moved out here in 2017, and by then we already had like two, three albums. And our plan was to record one third album, and because it's like a trilogy, it was like one album, the other two we see them as just one, like a double album type thing. And then we were gonna do the third one, and it was gonna be like a narrative. There was gonna be like a narrative, like joining all the albums and videos and all of that. And then the
Right.
pandemic hit, and it was like really rough, and obviously resetted everything for everybody. And we had to just take a break. And while we were doing that, we did that EP. And then some of the guys unfortunately like left and amicably to go on with their lives and stuff. And me, Keisuke, and Gonzo, we decided, like, let's take a little break, and let's slowly bring all those ideas for the album that we wanted to do slowly back. And so the plan is, like, we've been demoing stuff, and we already have like a few songs. And the cool thing is that all these ideas that we had and the influences that we've obtained living here in California and the US, and having having toured a little, they've really like permeated with the times, and now definitely gonna influence the album. So it's really interesting to see where this will go. So we're gonna do that, and our idea is to find a couple of guys to help us out. Like maybe not even a couple, maybe just a drummer. I spoke to a friend and recently at a show, and he said that he might be interested in playing drums for the album. Who knows? Maybe we'll be end up playing as a four piece
Okay.
with.
All right. I can see that. I can see that.
And Gonzo's a skilled enough musician. He's a super phenomenal guitar player. And back in the pandemic, we were sometimes playing just as a trio with with our previous drummer, and it sounded pretty decent. So I think we can make it work, as a four piece.
Uh, that sounds good to me. I mean, when it comes together, I mean, you guys will start making music again, and we'll be here waiting for it.
I'm just
Uh,
really honored that there's people that are like interested and remember us, and I'm honored to be on this show too, to
oh, this
speak.
has been a blast. This has been a joy. I'm so glad we're doing this. This is a lot of fun, and it takes me back to my roots. And I really do appreciate it. Be able to talk to musicians again. It's a lot of fun. I actually forgotten how much fun I had talking and hanging around. It's funny because I don't play, but I have an ear.
You sound like
That was my calling ear. My ear was my instrument.
you
Uh,
sound like you could be in a band.
I yeah I played in the band and I played a washboard.
Oh,
Just a
really?
washboard. Yeah, just a washboard. It was fun. It was different. It was different. Uh, all right, last round of questions for our guest, Kami Rayne. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down now before we have to let them go. And just a great day today. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Snow. Forget and by all means, everybody. I'm so redundant. I'm so bad at this, but by all means, um, you know what? You're not that far off. I've had at least gold records. At least gold records. Uh, uh, but by all means, connect with each other here on our chat. Feel free to connect with everybody's different channel. That's amazing to do. I want you guys to start doing it more often. If you guys aren't sub to each other, please do that. I don't think she's going to make an appearance today, but we will be having her on shortly. We will be having on your fiance
Yeah.
because your fiance is an actress, and so we'll be talking to her about her career soon enough.
She's also a film producer and like super badass. And like you said, her dad was a incredible musician. Wayne Durham. He played bass with Merle Haggard and all these legends of country, Willie Nelson, and
Man, that's
and Kim collaborated. She produced a movie that's coming out with Perry Teo, called Pale Horse, and that's how we met. She was interested in Dante's music for it, and that's how we met. And we met a while ago, and we just connected as friends, and then reconnected, and we just have a lot in common. And I think her own story is incredible, and she's gonna have many stories to tell. I am currently, because like with Dante, we produced all our own videos, and they're all like kind of like small short films and stuff. And there's one song that we have that's like 10 minutes long, and we ended up doing like a web comic for it that I wrote. And Kim asked me if I would dare to like try and work on a project with her, on a film project. So I might be working with her very soon on a film together, and I'm
cool.
very excited about that too.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Like
That
a new venture, and she's been super gracious, and she thinks that maybe we could come up with a really cool story to tell, and do it. And I said, yeah, let's try and do it. So that's something also that you guys could talk about.
Yeah, yes. I love to do that. I definitely would. We have some more questions here, real quick. Nobody says he enjoyed the banner here. Much love. Thanks for the fun. Well, we do it a lot, so come on back, nobody. We appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us. You're more than welcome anytime you want to. Just go ahead and hit the sub button and the notification bell to let you know whenever we go up live. Um, Snow says that Dante is going to make it so big. I like to think so. I like to think so. Let's see, Kim also owns Mirax's Entertainment. Snow wants to know if you do your own cover art. Do you guys do your own cover art?
Yeah, well, we collaborate a lot. We Our first album was done by a really good friend who actually directed some of our videos. His name is Jorge Jaramillo, and he lives here in LA, and he's worked with amazing artists. He's an amazing artist. His social serve, Lord Bina, Binah. He's great. But we started just working on our own art, like ourselves, and just collaborating with different artists depending on the idea. Either we would do it, or we would find somebody who connected with the idea. And we've been very fortunate to collaborate with tons of incredibly talented artists. It's awesome.
Let's see. Let's see. Any other things here? All right. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Much love. Yeah. Anytime. Anytime. Yeah. Your art is amazing for sure. I love the style. Yes. Thank you, nobody. And I return the favor. By all means, everybody, once again, please consider subbing to each other here. This has been an awesome stream. And of course, Dante's YouTube channel is right above you. I pinned the message on the message. So if you guys all want to go over there and sub to Kami's and Dante's YouTube channel, please do so and
Yeah.
show your support by watching the video and watching several videos, leaving comments. And again, for a chance to win the cassette tape, come back after the show is over, which is going to be here real shortly. Come back, drop a comment down below, and yeah, we'll see if we can get that cassette given away. That'll be a lot of fun.
It would be an honor.
Yes, be an honor for me too. I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be Snow says, remember her when she's super rich. Yeah, me too. All right, boys and girls, we're going to go ahead and let Kami go. But stay right where you're at, Kami. We're not quite done yet. I want to thank you guys all in the chat for making this day just a kick-ass day. You guys rock it out so hard. Now, if I could just talk you guys out for one more show this week. Tomorrow, we have Alex Peters will be here with us. Could use the support for that. As a nice young man. We're going to be talking films. And I'm looking forward to it. He came out there, and he seems to be very, very cool. And I'm pretty much spot on when it comes down to that. So come on out tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And again, next Monday, July 3rd, I will be back here with Tyler Gallant from Space Force Quest for the Deep Star. I will be back with Tyler on Monday, and then Wednesday, I will be back with Simon Shee, and then on the 6th, we have Melanie Gretchen will be here with us. So thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow night. Kami, stay right where you're at. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat. Thank you guys. Be safe. Love each other. Peace.